So in addition to everything else that we're going to be tracking tonight when we do our live coverage at 8 p.m., which you should 100% tune in for, we're also going to be looking at some of the important ballot initiatives that are going on today across the country. California in particular has a number of really interesting and important ones. One that is highly relevant to a lot of what we've covered on the show is a referendum on Prop 22. This is whether or not Uber and Lyft drivers can in fact be classified as contractors. So something we've covered here is the court battle over whether those drivers should actually be deemed employees or whether they can continue, as Uber and Lyft have classified them, as contractors. Now, these rideshare companies, their whole business model, their whole innovation basically was to skirt labor law in order to deem their drivers as contractors. Courts in California have ruled that they have actually improperly classified them that way. They have demanded and required Uber and Lyft to change to classifying them as employees. Those battles are ongoing in the courts. So what Uber and Lyft and other in the sharing economy, quote unquote, the app-based economy, DoorDash, Instacart, et cetera, have put millions and millions of dollars, $200 million behind this ballot initiative to try to change the law so that their drivers, their workers can in fact be classified as contractors, which means that they don't get all the protections of labor law that are afforded to an employee. On the other side are mostly organized labor and other allied groups. They've raised and spent about $19 million, so it's $200 million versus $19 million. But according to the latest polling, it's very close. They have to get to 50+1. It's not enough to just win outright. They have to actually get to 50+1. And according to the latest polling, they're not quite there, but certainly one that we're going to have an eye on.
Yeah, so a UC Berkeley poll in October found 46% of voters were going to vote yes, so therefore pro Uber and Lyft, and 42% were voting against, but 12% undecided. So that undecided vote is going to be key. And it's really important to understand that this would exempt them from California law and from a lawsuit brought by the state of California against them. Generally, just sadly to pour some water on this thing, I mean, you can see that their stocks are actually going up because investors expect them to survive Prop 22. They think it is going to pass, but it's a huge battle. It's actually a real glimpse into the future of corporate politics whenever you even try to rein them in, because $190 million is what they have spent on this. $190 million, which just goes to show how much they would lose if it did pass. They're willing to spend that much in order to get it done.
And it shows you what workers are up against.
Yeah,
I mean, it's remarkable that they even have a prayer at defeating this thing ultimately. And so I think that piece of it is really interesting and important. Also, Uber and Lyft have both threatened to leave the state if they don't get their way on the referendum, which also shows you the way that corporations sort of throw their weight around and throw their power around to essentially blackmail citizens of the state and workers to say, look, if we don't get our way, you're not going to have this job anymore. I'm going to take my cookies and go somewhere else. So that dynamic is interesting as well. But this will be one that we keep a close eye on, and it will set the trend. You know, one of the things about California just being as large of a state as it is, a lot of times what happens there ends up trickling out to other states across the country. So it's another reason why this is incredibly significant.
That's right.
All right, we'll have more Rising for you after this.